Welcome, friends, to the Someone Gets Me podcast. I am your host, Dianne A, and I am so delighted that you're here. This podcast was created because I believe there is a visionary leader inside each one of us who is waiting to be seen. In each episode of Someone Gets Me, you will hear useful tips from successful visionaries who will share their stories about how being seen has allowed them to take their vision out into the world with action. When your nervous system won't let you receive, why gifted adults block support. Hi, friends. It's Dianne here at Someone Gets Me. And today we're talking about a really sensitive subject because I deal with this personally and professionally nearly every day. Because, our nervous systems are designed to protect us. And so sometimes it blocks us from the very thing we're seeking. So have you ever had a time where you wanted support or you really wanted help? You wanted somebody to be in your corner, but at the moment it gets offered to you or somebody reaches out, suddenly you're either minimizing or pretending like it's not as bad as it is or saying nothing or yearning secretly to have that connection, but yet feeling either you're unworthy or can't or shouldn't receive it. It's part of our nervous system, learning and growing in a protection mode. It's protecting us from being disappointed. It's protecting us from emotional loss and chaos and upset, which is a noble thing. We want ourselves to have some protection. However, when that protection gets in the way of an intensely sensitive, gifted person, and we're unable to actually receive the very thing we're seeking, it sets up one crisis after the other. It sets up all kinds of things that can happen because there's something we want. We may even be able to ask for it, but can we really receive it? And one of the ways you can tell if you receive things very well is what happens if somebody compliments you. Like, I like what you're wearing, or I like your watch, or your hair looks particularly good today, or any comment, right? Any compliment. Do you negate it? Do you sheepishly say thank you and then in your head negate it? Do you kick back, right, with another compliment right away so that the deflection is off of you and now we're on the other person again? How do you do it? How do you do compliments? Now, we know that the highest compliment, the highest form of compliment is I love you. And so the appropriate response to a compliment is thank you. So if we really want to, try this out, when next time somebody says I love you to you, say thank you. And then if you want to tell them you love them too, you don't retort with I love you too. Because so many people say I love you to the person they love, and it doesn't mean they don't love them, but they say it in order to elicit the I love you response. And that cheapens the experience. It's an emotional system trying to protect you. And in that case, maybe you don't even need protecting, right? So when someone says, I love you, our response is, thank you. And then when you want to tell that other person on a spontaneous way that you love them in the way they can receive it, then that's when you share that rather than this kind of conditioned banter. Now, that doesn't mean that you don't say, I love you too on the phone or whatever. I'm not saying it's all the time. I'm saying, but pay attention. Can you receive a compliment? Is your nervous system blocking you from receiving the very thing you want? Now, one of the ways that this happens is if you're in a state of overwhelm, whether the overwhelm is emotional overwhelm, whether the overwhelm is just life happening overwhelm, or whether you just have this constant movement overwhelm. When you're in a state of overwhelm, your system, your neurology, your biology, all of you goes into survival mode. It goes into let's be safe. What do we have to do to get safety? What do we have to do to contain the overwhelm so we're not at risk? Now, a lot of this happens subconsciously, and a lot of it happens energetically. And so sometimes we don't realize that as really intensely sensitive, gifted people, we can be overwhelmed and then wonder why it's a hard time to receive help. So some gifted people turn into micromanagers and doing everything themselves. I know I did that before in my career. I and some people just distance themselves or disappear. I know people in my world that when they get a little overwhelmed, I don't hear from them for like a really long time. Even if I call them, like they just don't respond, because the way they handle overwhelm, the way they regain safety is to literally check out, disappear from the world until they feel like reemerging, right? And so we want to realize that overwhelm is not about whether you're managing your time okay or managing your emotions okay. It has to do with keeping your system safe. Now, if you were raised as a guardian child, which you can look at my previous episode about guardian children. If you're a guardian child, one of the when you were a kid, you were taking care of the big people, you were managing the family, and you had to grow up a little quicker than you should have, right? Because of responsibility, whether you perceived it and took it on or whether it was actually given to you. Results are very similar, where a guardian child will take on the responsibility to guard and keep safety in the family. But what happens is they're trying to limit disappointment over time, right? So if you are raised in a situation where you were disappointed a lot, or maybe you felt like you couldn't measure up because there was always something bigger. I had a friend of mine who kept excelling in gifted classes and a gifted school, and did all these extracurricular things and did great things for her community and kept going and going and going and pushing. And it was amazing. Now, she came from a high profile family and a family that had a lot of accolades and people doing a lot of great things. And so there was a lot of pressure on her to live up to that family standard. She didn't really want to live up to the family standard in the manner in which the pressure was being applied. And so there was a lot of conscious and unconscious kind of rub in that. And so the guardian child part of her has blocked her over the years. That protector saboteur has blocked her over the years from being able to receive the very thing she yearns for. And that is true love and care and respect. She's a genius at giving it. She is amazing at what she does. But the push and the overwhelm and the having to be this guardian of the family has created somebody who has difficulty receiving the very thing she wants, because her nervous system is conditioned to keep safety, which means we're not allowed to be disappointed. So the way we handle not being disappointed is we collapse the system in. So a guardian child is always looking for, what do I have to lose? How am I going to handle this? What am I going to do to keep the system safe? The protector part of the guardian child is always trying to make sure that that safety is maintained. So if your nervous system is in what I call emergency stage, and it's tightened up, and the system is responsive in a sense that it's reactive, then your protector, guardian, saboteur part is running the show and will effectively block you from being able to receive the very love and care and respect and kindness and compassion that you deserve and that you yearn for and that you want. Now, sometimes you can tell these guardian children because they give too much. Because the idea is, if they keep giving and giving and do for others in all kinds of ways, then eventually someone will do something for them. Now, sometimes they know that consciously that that's happening, and sometimes it's just the pattern. Because a lot of times as adults, I mean, many people I work with are just now figuring out they're gifted, and that gifted is a thing. And it's not because anybody thinks they're special or great or wonderful. In fact, it's harder to be gifted than not gifted and functioning in the society. When you critically think your way through the world, that's rare these days. And so therefore, it's more difficult to be gifted. So it's important to remember, and for all of us to realize, that our nervous system is trying to keep us safe and protect us all the time. And if it had to learn this skill and hone this skill from the time we were very young, then what's going to happen is whenever we start getting a sense of notoriety, or we start feeling alive, or we like come out of the cocoon and kind of like stand in our sovereignty. That protector part, that's part of the guardian child, will try to create safety and squash us down, in some kind of way, whether it's flatline or get depressed or isolate or something. Find some way to reestablish the safety that the system knows. Now, the interesting thing is, if you're a business owner or you're somebody that's doing content, or you're public facing, we have to deal with this all the time, because what if somebody sees us? What if somebody disagrees with us? I asked this amazing scientist to be on this show, and she's remarkable and amazing, and she's a multi-potentialite. And one of the things she said, when she said she had to think about it, and she's been thinking now for about a year, is that she didn't want to record it, because then it would be a snippet in time of her life. And what if she changed and people heard that, but now she's different? And I said, well, it's the same thing with artists. The beginning of their artwork and the end of their artwork is different. We are expected to be expanding and evolving and growing. If we listen to Someone Gets Me's original podcast from many years ago, we're at 400 plus episodes. And so several years ago, I was different than I am today. I've grown. I've healed things. I've worked on things. I have awareness that's different. My intuition is sharper. And so therefore, I am different than I was back then. And so sometimes those snippets that we have, those pictures we take, those sound bites we have, remind us of who we were on our road to who we are today, which is still on the road for what we're becoming. So the safety, I think, is in our making friends with who we are and where we are and our nervous system and how we handle things. Because when we let ourselves get overwhelmed, the system goes into shut down safety mode. And so as we're good with giving, it takes practice to learn how to receive. Now, receiving is different than taking. And receiving is something that some people really struggle with learning how to do. And you can also tell it in somebody's breath, because an inhale is receiving oxygen. An exhale is giving away the used up air, the carbon dioxide, right? The gooky stuff. The inhale is a receiving. And some people, when I say take a breath, it's very rigid. Their system is tense and they go, well, that's not very friendly. That's a system and a nervous system that's an overwhelm, that's hyped up, that is not fully open. Because if the system was fully open, an inhale would be a natural experience of beauty. There would be a flow. It would be easy. There would be an ease and a grace, not a like that, like sucking through a straw. That is a lot of tension in the body. That system is an overwhelm. So you can be in overwhelm systemically and not necessarily mentally feel like you're an overwhelm. I have a client right now like that is somebody who always is trying to tell me how everything's great all the time. And largely everything is. And the system remains an overwhelm because of pressure, because of internalized understandings of what he has to do to step up into the family roles. And he tells himself he's ready, and he is ready. He's telling himself the truth. However, he has not allowed his system to integrate and decompress. Now, that's an accident waiting to happen down the road, because what happens is the person has a difficult time receiving love or care, like really. So it's hard to receive if our nervous system is ramped up and has these invisible barriers designed to keep us safe. That's the protector saboteur that comes out of being the guardian. It's very, very common for sensitive, gifted adults to wake up one day, usually in their 30s or 40s sometimes, and go, oh my, I have been like vibrating almost with this kind of energetic wall, this defensiveness, this overwhelm feeling that I didn't even know was overwhelm. I have somebody else that I'm working with, and they said, I feel really bored. I said, well, what if what you're describing really is not as much boredom as it is peace or relaxation or calm? What if you're calm? What if what you're thinking is boredom is really calm because you just haven't felt calm? And then this person pondered it and we talked about the differences and things. And then eventually he goes, I think it is calm. I don't know if I've ever felt this. So with all the work we've been doing, he is starting to explore depths of who he is and see that there is calm underneath the chaos and the overwhelm, and that you don't have to live in a state of overwhelm. In fact, when I used to live in those kind of heightened states all the time, and I'm as guilty of it as anybody, I started making the shift because I adopted the mantra, you don't have to live like this. You don't have to live on the edge, angry, upset, defended. Don't have to live like that. You can be calm, you can be restful, you can be effective, you can smile a lot, you can have fun, and the world's still going to spin exactly as it was before. And you're going to be a lot happier along the way. I used to tell myself that all the time, looking in the mirror. You don't have to live like this. It's important because a lot of us are very sensitive and we absorb all the energy all around us. And we live in a chaotic universe, a chaotic world. There's an elegant simplicity to the natural world. And then the humans have managed to add a whole bunch of crazy chaos that is overwhelming for many people that have intense sensitivities. So we want to remember that our ability to receive is definitely a skill. It's something we learn. It's something we practice. It's something we honor ourselves for our growth in that area. And we practice it by receiving compliments. We practice it by calling out that part of us that is trying to protect us or keep us away or throw the wall up, right? We call that part out in us, whether it's silently or in our journal or out loud. We have to pay more attention. We have to shine the light of truth in there and say, wow, there's a part of me that's trying to keep me separate. And that separateness creates existential loneliness. And for gifted people, that is very, very hard to deal with because we already feel lonely a lot. We already feel misunderstood often. And so when we have a part of our subconscious that is keeping that going, is fostering that, it can feel like we're in a trap. Now, you're not really in a trap. It just feels like a trap because the way we navigate through this is to call it what it is. Oh, that's the protector part. Oh, there I am being the guardian again. Oh, okay, here I am not breathing very well, right? Like practice breathing and just let yourself have flow in your flow of oxygen in your lungs. Try it, let your breathing just naturally relax. Allow yourself to hum or sing. Allow yourself to use your voice in a way that is meaningful. Because that's how we take care of the overwhelm. That's how we can allow our nervous systems to regulate better so that we can learn how to receive the very things we want to receive, like love and compassion and care. So we do safe and sound protocol with some of my people to help their vagus nerve and their nervous system regulate. We do lots of different things in order to allow the system to feel safe enough to come out of that state. That's why we do retreats. That's why I come apart for a while, meaning there will be times I turn off my phone over a weekend, or I take time apart from the normal patterns of the world to breathe and relax and allow my muscles to relax, my mind to relax, and all of me to settle. So one way you can learn how to settle is if you put your hands really, really like your, fingers to fingers, and then you rub them very lightly. So you try to feel your own fingerprints. Allow yourself maybe to go outside at dawn or dusk and see how many colors of green you see in 5 minutes. Give yourself permission to focus on nuance and beauty. And take some deep breaths and feel the nuance and beauty in your own soul. Because if you want to have a nervous system that allows you to receive, it requires work on your part. That's why I do a lot of mentoring for people to help them be able to let their nervous systems calm enough to start to receive. I mean, some of the clients I work with takes a little bit of time for them to start to receive the very thing I'm offering them sometimes because they're trying to overthink or try to figure out. because they think that they have to get an A on the quiz, when really it's about allowing human connection and rapport. Really, it's about allowing somebody to come alongside with us and walk down the road of life with us. You know, one of my clients said, it's like we're walking up a mountain and you're the one who's leading and you have the flashlight. Well, I have somebody leading me that they have the flashlight. We all have somebody in our world that is showing us the way or is coming along with us, so that together we create something amazing and magical. That's how it works. So this episode is all about reminding you that it's your nervous system that doesn't let you receive the love you're looking for or the care or compassion. It's your nervous system that is so ramped up and staticky that the very thing you yearn for seems just out of your reach a lot of times. So the personal work we have to do, if we want to be able to receive, is to calm, to rest, to tell that saboteur, that protector, that we're safe now, and that protector's job is done, and they can lovingly be retired. You have all kinds of support in your corner, other gifted people, myself, people all around. Because after all, if you're intensely sensitive, then you interpret the world and the world lands on you differently than somebody who's not. So it's important to have people in your corner who understand you. It's important to have people in your corner who will listen to what you're saying, but more importantly, listen to what you're not saying. And it's important for you to realize that the biggest saboteur in your life most likely is your nervous system that has been entrained to keep you safe, to protect you, and to keep away from you any sense of disappointment. Are you willing to allow your nervous system to regulate, to relax? Are you willing to allow yourself to flow through life in a meaningful way? Are you willing to let go of that old version of you that's full of static and protection kind of walls up around you? Are you willing to let that part down? You're willing to drop those walls for a little while and let the adult in you make decisions and run the show? Are you willing to let go of that old version of you, that part of you that landed you stuck and feeling all empty and frustrated and irritated and angry? Are you willing to let go of that part? Are you willing to say yes to love and kindness and peace and beauty? Are you willing to say yes to generosity and reciprocity? There's all kinds of questions we have for ourselves. And that's the reason why I do the work I do. Because I've had to work through a lot of these things myself, and I can see it in people when their nervous system just isn't cooperating. And it's all other than conscious. It's all something that was entrained in before you could defend yourself from it, which is why it takes work along with someone outside of you. Because you guardian children are going to want to try to do it all by yourself, right? Go away in secret, figure it all out, and then come out, emerge all done. Well, that's not how it works. Because for humans to heal and regulate, we need connection, rapport, connection with another human being who is regulated. Yeah, I know it's amazing, but that it's required. So we can't do these things by ourselves, even when we think we can or we think we want to. Because we understand something cognitively does not translate 100% to the healing and the rectifying of the nervous system being all cattywampus. So if your nervous system is keeping you from receiving the very things you're looking for and yearning for, if you've tried all kinds of other things and your brain cannot solve it, which it can't by itself, then feel free to make a get to know you call with me. I'll help you. I'll ask you some good questions and show you the way. I'm happy to do that, because I know that until somebody helped ask the right questions for me, I was stuck in that loop. I was stuck in that loop of always wanting and yearning and never quite getting it, and being frustrated and trying again and being frustrated. And so we don't want us to be that way anymore. I don't think. I don't want us to be that way anymore. I want us to be happy and flowing and carefree. And then also being able to have a good sense of humor and be serious when we need to be. We can be serious and get things done and not be in a frenetic, overwhelmed state. So I hope this show has helped you. I hope this show has reminded you that you are an amazing being. Your system has multiple layers, and all of it is working together for you. And any part of any of the systems that you would like to enhance or upgrade or shift, you get to do that because you are the master of the system. So you get to decide in your inner landscape, are you willing to make whatever changes you need to so that your nervous system doesn't keep away from you the very thing you want? Or are you going to walk around and go, well, it is what it is, and never really quite feel fully fulfilled, satisfied? So I invite you, come to a retreat, give me a call, find all different kinds of ways to serve your nervous system and relax. Start with breathing full breaths. Start with hydrating your body, and start with looking yourself in the eyes, in the mirror, and say, I love you. Yes. And then say, thank you. Thank you for being here with me and for me all the time, because you're the only person that will never leave you. Wild, huh? So thank you for listening to this episode of Someone Gets Me. And remember, it's your nervous system that's in the way. And it's something that's manageable and that we can work with so that it can step out of the way and you can receive the very most important things that you're yearning for that have been elusive. So until the next episode of Someone Gets Me, remember to keep your face to the sun so the shadows fall behind you, because you're a rock star. You're here on purpose with a mighty, mighty purpose. So go out there and let your light shine. Regulate your nervous system and breathe the breath of life. Until the next episode of Someone Gets Me, this is Dianne saying, be well.
Thank you for listening. I trust you gained some valuable inspiration and information. Please join me and other visionaries in the Someone Gets Me Facebook group. Or for more information on my services and additional episodes, visit someonegetsme.com. Again, thanks for listening.